During the time when I went through severe anxiety, I used to research and try every technique and method I could find to get rid of my anxiety. But it turns out that was the problem. In this video, I'm going to explain why your efforts to get rid of anxiety are in fact the reason why you're still anxious. So welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time, I'm Tim Box. I'm a mind coach, and for more than a decade now, I've been working with people to help them overcome all sorts of emotional and psychological issues, and in particular, helping them get control of anxiety. So if you're interested in reducing and ultimately controlling your anxiety levels, then hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's do this. So the reason you're watching this video is probably because that for all the many things in your life that you might have concerns about and feel you need to focus on at any given time, one of your primary points of concern has now become how anxious you feel from moment to moment. You might well have started to regard your anxiety response as in some way dysfunctional or disordered. In short, the thing you're most anxious about now is your anxiety. And trust me, I've been there. It's not nice. If this goes on for any length of time, we very quickly become concerned about what this means for our long-term mental health. And the thing we most fear is that this is a permanent state and we're never going to get back to just feeling normal. And this is the thing. We might remember a time in our life before all this started when we didn't feel excessively anxious. And all we really want to do is just to get back to those days when we were effectively anxiety-free. We then start to put all our efforts into doing whatever it might take to eradicate all signs and symptoms of anxiety. In the pursuit of this result, we might at some point start to notice that everything we try ultimately seems to just make things worse. Not only failing to remove our anxiety, but in many cases amplifying it. We just end up feeling more and more anxious. This is largely because we've now added a further concern that nothing we try is working. We're running out of options and evidence seems to suggest that thing we fear the most, that we're just stuck like this. So here's the first thing you need to know. You were never anxiety-free. Whether you currently realize it or not, you've always felt some level of anxiety every single day of your life. The days you remember as anxiety-free were simply those days before anxiety itself became a concern for you. You didn't focus on your anxiety levels because anxiety wasn't an issue you needed to pay any conscious attention to. You were busy focusing on the things you felt anxious about, such as paying that bill, sending that important email, or turning up on time for that meeting. You didn't notice feeling anxious because anxiety itself wasn't the thing you were anxious about. But if this doesn't quite make sense right now and you're not sure you believe me, then let's back up a little and start with the basics. What is anxiety? We might have come to regard anxiety as an illness, a disorder, or a condition that we seem to be afflicted with. Anxiety is in fact none of these things. Anxiety is an emotion. Every emotion we feel is important and has a function. It's designed to steer us towards a safe and happy existence. So, for example, if we perceive danger, our mind will trigger fear to encourage us to move away from that situation. If we feel we've been wronged, our mind will trigger anger to inspire us to take whatever action required to right that wrong. Anxiety is simply one of these emotions our mind uses to draw our attention to whatever is deemed to be the most important thing right now. Sometimes anxiety is about avoiding a negative experience. At times it's about moving towards a positive one. But anxiety is never anything more sinister than a part of our mind suggesting that there is something we need to pay attention to. What this means is that we're going to feel some level of anxiety pretty much every single day. There's probably never going to be a day in our life that we don't have something we need to do or at least put our focus on. Even those blissful days of zero responsibility when we're just relaxing on holiday, we still need to remember to put sunblock on or decide where we're going to have lunch, or we need to remember to wake up early enough to grab our towel and reserve a sun lounge around the pool. None of these sound like reasons for high anxiety, except maybe that last one, and of course they're not. But the mistake we make is thinking that anxiety only comes in the form of tense muscles, shallow breathing, or increased heart rate. Anxiety also comes in the form of that moment when we just seemingly, for no reason, think of that thing we needed to do today. It's not vital and the world won't end if we don't do it, but a part of our mind has, for some reason, deemed it to be important enough to demand our focus right now. But here lies the problem. If we regard anxiety as a feeling that we're not meant to have or an indicator of some dysfunction or illness, then the moment we do that perfectly natural and human thing of feeling slightly anxious about something, then suddenly we trigger the anxiety about anxiety. And that's why we start to feel highly anxious, because that's a feedback loop. If you want to know more about the anxiety feedback loop and how we break it, then check out my video on that I'll link to at the end of this video. But the main point here is that it's the feedback loop that causes the high anxiety, not any anxiety condition or illness that you might feel affected by. In short, if we feel anxiety as an indicator of illness, then every day we will feel that we're displaying symptoms of that illness, because every day human beings experience some degree of anxiety. Now, I get why we want to get rid of anxiety completely. It can feel horrible. But the moment we stop regarding any anxious feelings as a sign we are in some way malfunctioning, then we stop creating the feedback and ultimately return to what we might recognize as feeling normal. But do yourself a favor and stop telling yourself there was a time when you felt zero anxiety. There wasn't. There was simply a time when you rightly paid more attention to what you were anxious about rather than the fact you were anxious. If you speak to people who've got the other side of their anxiety struggles and ask them how they did it and what it was that made the difference, they'll very often scratch their heads a little and after a bit of thought eventually tell you that for whatever reason, at some point, they just stopped regarding their anxiety as anything they needed to be concerned about. And that's when it dissipated. Because the simple truth is, when you stop trying to get rid of anxiety, you stop feeling quite so anxious. I really hope this video has been of value, and let me know your thoughts or if you have any questions down in the comments. Please hit that thumbs up button if you like what I do, and why not subscribe to the channel for weekly mind management tips and anxiety advice. Also, you can now become a member of the channel and receive extra content every week, including video tutorials of my full system for change, extra insights and exclusive live streams. Just hit the join button on the homepage. But that's it for now. I'm Tim Box, Mind Coach. Always remember to be kind to your mind, and I'll see you next time.